spot for now. Meanwhile, OKC, Memphis seem most likely to latch on to the fourth and final playoff spot in the division. For Louisville, they'll likely go as far as Brian Ownby can take. Everywhere New Mexico United and Louisville City go, they draw a crowd. But it's the playoff race growing most crowded entering the season's final month. New Mexico's midseason additions have them above the playoff line. Louisville wounded, but a championship-winning core still has a division title within reach. The stretch run begins right now. Louisville, Kentucky has become a bit of a soccer capital in the Midwest, and at its cathedral, Lynn Family Stadium, the USL Championship on ESPN brings you Louisville City and New Mexico United. Happy Sunday afternoon, everybody. Mike Watts joined by Devin Kerr. Glad to have you aboard for this one. It's October now, Devin. Both these teams expect to be in the playoffs, so we can start talking about it.
Very different paths, both before and after for those teams, though, Mike. So let's start with Louisville City, right? Eastern Conference finalist every single season, but they're battered and bruised right now, and yet still division title within reach, possibly the number one overall seed in the USL Championship, but now's the go time. New Mexico United, they found form, they found the rotation, and they are searching for 4 wins in a row to climb that ladder in the Mountain Division.
Let's take a look at the Central Division. For Louisville City, they just finished a 5-game road swing. This is their first home game in a month. They didn't lose that much ground, but Birmingham jumping them for the number one spot for now. Meanwhile, OKC, Memphis seem most likely to latch on to the fourth and final playoff spot in the division. For Louisville, they'll likely go as far as Brian Ownby can take them.
What you need to understand about Brian Ownby, and it's the most important thing, Mike, is this. He's healthy. Over the past couple of seasons, he has not been. And going in and out of a lineup, getting unregulated minutes is difficult on a player's psyche. So, he's regularly in the 11. He's making an impact. 8 assists on the season. That's a career high. 4 goals to boot. And his ability to stretch this game with all the speed around him is why this offense is still one of the most lethal in the USL Championship.
Meanwhile, in the Mountain Division, El Paso starting to run away with things. New Mexico now level on points with RGV, who won last night. So the fourth and final playoff position still in question. The good news for New Mexico, they're stringing wins together at the right time.
Talent has never been an issue for this team. And when you talk to coaches around the championship and say, who do you think's going to be that third or fourth team? New Mexico United is one that every single coach and player talks about. And finally, you're starting to see it come to fruition. 3 straight wins, that's great, but they're searching for more. Troy Lesesne talks about the fourth and final number and what it looks like going forward. What a statement victory it would be on the road at Lynn Family to propel them in that direction. possession. So let's talk about what this breakdown looks like for New Mexico United and go ahead of the curve. New Mexico United started the year 3 at the back, Mike. Let's mess around in the midfield a little bit. We'll throw some forwards up top, even an attacking midfielder here and there. But exploding into a 4-2-3-1 with the addition of Chris Wehan creates multiple options. 2 different looks, the same game, in a 1-0 victory against San Antonio. Wehan in the attacking midfielder spot. He slides outside, he slides inside, he's all over the pitch, and he's got help when they move into the final third. And of course, if at first you don't succeed, just go and do it yourself. Chris Wehan from the backside, long ball, all the way in to the top of the 18, finds the streaking run, finds the back of the net, and once again, New Mexico United have found their man.
5 goals since entering the team August 17th, just 8 games. Louisville and New Mexico ready to excite the crowd here at Lynn Family Stadium. We've got lineups and kickoff when we return to the USL Championship on ESPN. Welcome back to the USL Championship on ESPN. Jonathan Gomez making a bit of history, set to join Real Sociedad, the third side in the La Liga standings at present. Gomez, 18 years old, came in from Texas and has turned quite the trick already in his young age. Said to become the first player from Louisville City to jump to a top-tier European side. Rumors became reality just 3 days ago. Danny Cruz, big reason why Gomez is here. He starts Gomez out on the left. They've made 3 changes.
Pat McMahon, Niall McCabe, Jimmy McLaughlin out. Openo onto the front line to complement Brian Ownby, who we've already spoken about. Cameron Lancaster, 65 regular season goals and counting. Paolo Del Piccolo comes alongside Corbin Bone. Keep an eye on Corbin Bone. His ability to really challenge the back line of New Mexico United. They've missed that in the trailing runs at the top of the 18. Oscar Jimenez, still making his way back from injury, joins the other side of the back line for Louisville City. Troy Lesesne makes 2 interesting changes on the inside. Michael Azira and Andrew Tenori come to the interior. This is a possession-based team that can still spring in the attack going forward. Watch Wehan, Sergio Rivas, Amanda Moreno rotate all over the pitch. Daniel Bruce finding a nice compliment, cutting back to the interior, and David Najim bringing up the rear as they move from back to front.
And into this stadium, New Mexico arrives for the first time. They're trying to become just the 7th side to knock off Louisville in this venue since it opened amidst the pandemic last summer. They expect a little over 10,000 in attendance for players like Napo Masoso, former UK grad, St. Francis High School. He's been around Louisville a long time. This dream a long time coming. Louisville will get the first touch. They're in black, yellow for New Mexico United. And we're underway on this Sunday afternoon to begin October for Louisville City and New Mexico United. Hubbard. Louisville can clinch with a win or draw this afternoon. For New Mexico, said it in the open, still some wood to chop if they're to make the postseason. They are currently in playoff position in 4th in the mountain. Tosh. Lancaster slides out. Ombi. Followed by Tanari. Jimenez. The divisional format new this year. Ombi. Serving for Del Piccolo. Bone went in. Play continues. Masoso to Gomez. Lancaster overrun. Now he gets the shot away and rips this off target. This did deflect, a corner for Louisville.
Shocking, 60 seconds in and already a chance for Louisville City. Given the onslaught that we've seen in previous games, 10, 15, 20 minutes in, you'll see a very high tempo home squad in Lou City, throwing massive amount of numbers forward. Still being very careful on the defensive side, Mike, but they love to pin the opposition back and make them play out of their own end.
It'll be Oscar Jimenez to put this in play. Gomez delivers. Flicked into the air. Corbin Bone fouled by Moreno. Moreno just joining Hugo Perez's side, the El Salvador national team in 2021, capped half a dozen times. Anyone you're keeping an eye on for a set piece from this distance?
You hit it from here, don't come back. Just run out the tunnel and get it over with. It's one of those ones here from Jonathan Gomez that if you feel like you're that special, now's a great time to showcase it.
Gomez, that's off target. You know, when you think about Jonathan Gomez in the preliminary squad for the U.S. for the Gold Cup, ahead of Nations League, went to train with Mexico, so he's one of those players on the nexus between the two countries. All the while he's headed to La Liga at the end of this season. You see the assist numbers on the year. Tambakis struggling with Ombi. That's a lot for an 18-year-old to deal with. He was 17 when this season started.
There's a ton of young talent within this country that's going through the same growing pains, though, Mike. We saw it with David Ochoa and the Monarchs organization, of course, bumped into Real Salt Lake. How about Efrain Alvarez and what it looked like for him with Los Angeles Galaxy 2, now with their MLS squad? There's a theme there, right? Everybody continuing to take the steps domestically. But the pressure internationally, Mike, I don't envy these kids. And a guy like Jonathan Gomez, where midseason gets an opportunity to grow across the pond, check out what the options are like. Where exactly his whereabouts were, that's a whole nother conversation because we didn't have the tracker on him at that point in time. But mentally, to stay locked into your own personal growth process, then follow what the team wants you to do, and then figure out what your future is supposed to look like, there's been some growing pains. There was a good month there where he really struggled with form, but he's finally back at it.
His older brother Johan's on the books at Porto as well. Launched over Bruce, who's on the run. Hubbard left. Bruce chipping across. Header back toward Moreno from Weehan. Settles for Najum. Azira. Bruce sends this back. Played at UNC Charlotte at the same time. Troy Lassane, New Mexico's technical director and inaugural head coach. Was with the Charlotte Independents under Mike Jeffries. Got to know him through that connection. Masoso steps in, won it from Weehan. Del Piccolo.
That's a great step by Napo Masoso. Danny Cruz feeling like the holding midfielder spot currently is Napo Masoso's to lose. He's got a lot of intangibles that he brings to this team, like great vision, athleticism, beautiful speed, the distribution coming out of the back. At certain points in time, though, he just needs that extra level. Push yourself to another notch to allow your team to succeed. That's one of those moments, that quick little step in, and then you go the other direction.
Najum. Taken by Gomez. Openo trying to help along. Bone fouled. Dev mentioned it at the outset. Louisville, 5 games on the road. Haven't been home for a month. Some pretty tough games along the way. They win 2, draw 3. They can clinch a playoff spot today, but they're now 1 point behind Birmingham. This is their game in hand, so to speak. In terms of their form, we talk about New Mexico, 3 wins in a row. What did you make of that road swing for Louisville City?
Most importantly, the points and the fact that you continue to garner them. Right? Everybody holds Louisville City, understandably so, in such high accord. The expectation for them is because of what we've seen in the past. So this club comes in 2015, mentioned in the Open Eastern Conference finalist every single season. You win it back-to-back 17 and 18. You get back to the final in 19. So all of a sudden, you go on the road, you don't win every game, and our pets' heads are falling off, right? The world is not right unless Lou City go unbeaten every single time. And yet with a win today, they go back atop the division. Mathematically, they're still in the equation for the USL Championship. This is about injury for them because they're still creating a ton. They're right there with a team like Phoenix Rising, who puts up all those goals in the Western Conference in terms of creation in the final third. Defensively, still one of the best in the entire league. Putting that all together, that's not out of reach at all for Lou City. Get a couple of the players back, just stay within striking distance of where you need to be, because there are plenty of teams around the league right now, Mike, are going, man, I'd love to be in their spot. I'd love to have all that white noise about us and not have to worry about making the playoffs.
Gomez chips this forward. Openo drives inside, serves the cross, slid on the line, Del Piccolo. His magic goal-scoring season continues. Career high 6 for the Louisville captain. Home side leads.
We leaned on Brian Ownby in the Open to talk about his form. You love to reference Cameron Lancaster, but let us not forget the man on the outside, Antoine Openo. He's made his way back from injury, and then in the one-on-one situations, I will take him every single time for Lou City. Down in the corner, right foot, left foot, does not matter. Little cut back to the inside, and he knows he's going to have options. Be it Corbin Bone, Lancaster, Ownby, whoever it comes from, and it comes from their captain, Del Piccolo, 7 minutes into this game.
Goal number 6 of the season for Paulo Del Piccolo. Came off the bench last game. They felt like his ability to come in, help the team settle, and ultimately play the brand that they want to play, just as valuable as any goal he's going to score. He's captained the side to 2 titles in this league. Lest we forget, as if anyone will allow you to forget in Louisville, they've been to the conference final every year of their existence. 6 years, 6 conference finals.
Mike, you and I have had the opportunity to see this team a lot this season, and you know, just about a month ago, August 22nd, there was that game at OKC Energy FC. Now it ended in a 0-0 draw, which again is still a good point on the road. But I kept saying to you, where are the late runs coming from Lou City? It was too isolated up front where you got an Openo and Lancaster combo. You got Ownby and Openo together, but there was nothing exploding out of the midfield. That's what you need to see if you're Danny Cruz. Late trailing runs, that's where you'll find your success.
Rivas returns, Tenari, header back by Jimenez. And both these teams are scary good with their rotation. It's almost impossible to have a true game plan to mark something that seemingly comes off intuition.
The predictability of it for New Mexico United has come leaps and bounds with the addition of Chris Weehan, though. Love the conversation with Troy Lesesne saying, look, this isn't your traditional 4-2-3-1. People look at the numbers as a starting point, and they should. But this team in recent history stuck to that template, right? It was, okay, we're going to play left midfielder here. We've got our number 9 up top. We've got 2 holding midfielders, and that's where we're staying. But with the rotation and what it looks like, you've got the ability in Najim to drop into the right back spot and still give you the exposure on the right flank. You've got Chris Wehan, who moves into the 10. He'll play the 7, the 11. Any of the front 4 can give you options moving forward.
Hopino was locked in a battle with Tete. Hopino, who is known for long flowing locks, cut those a few months ago, but he's not going to get the whistle here.
There's contact in from behind. The problem he gets here is he reaches out and starts to drop himself on his own. If that run continues, our referee probably is blowing the whistle in favor of the Lou City man.
Driven away by Tembakis. Onby intercepts, good touch wide, drags Yearwood out. And for Jimenez, he stayed on side, swipes it across, and Hopino can't tap it in. Louisville is flying at the outset on this Sunday afternoon.
Trying to return the favor on the back post run to Antoine Hopino. Great sequence here. Oscar Jimenez gets a bit lucky. Looked to be a step ahead of Kalen Wright in an offside position. Referee lets him play on. Those quick little turns by Oscar Jimenez are something that Lou City faithful have missed. And not only have they missed that, Mike, this is a combination with Jonathan Gomez and Oscar Jimenez that Louisville have been trying to get on the field regularly all season long. They felt like these were their 2 starting outside backs. Injuries, a bit of midseason travel, which we've already referenced for Jonathan Gomez, and a few other variables have not allowed that to happen. But that's what you get. Great balance on either side.
Wehan circulating for New Mexico. 4 wins in their last 5. A loss at Austin, the only blemish in that time. Also belonged to Louisville City. Home win against Colorado Springs at the time, massive. Home win against Monarchs, maybe even against RGV, expected. Win at San Antonio in that span as well. Onby, Ryden, kept by Bone. It was Zach Prince, an assistant coach for New Mexico, who somewhat coined the concept within this team. About 2 months ago, we had New Mexico on national TV. Troy Lesesne said, hey, win 3. Let's really prove something to ourselves, to everybody else. Gomez. It was Zach Prince who said it's a 4th win in a row that's going to give you that championship mentality. That's what it's going to take in November. Jimenez rolls this out. Onby onto Jimenez, crossing, Del Piccolo again! And it's officially a party at Lynn Family Stadium.
Too easy. It's just too easy right now. Oscar Jimenez, little pinch to the inside. Nobody challenges the initial run of Brian Onby. And as Austin Yearwood steps out, they forget about one thing. Who's tracking with Oscar Jimenez, who played the initial ball? All the space down to the byline. Pick your poison. 6s and 7s on the carnival ride on the back line for New Mexico United. And Del Piccolo's got his brace.
2nd today, 7th of the year. The former 2nd-round pick of Montreal, who went to College Cup with the University of Louisville and has become the go-to man for this franchise over the half-decade he's been here. Tosh taking a bit of offense to Moreno's incursion.
6th club for Paolo Del Piccolo. You see a career high 7 goals this year. It was after they won their first championship that he sort of said, this is sort of the first big team title we've ever won. U of L hadn't won the ACC yet. While they had been to College Cup, they didn't hoist it at the end. Success has followed Paolo Del Piccolo throughout his time in Lou City. Hubbard drives it away. Ball skipping through. Lancaster gave chase.
We've got to start to steady things right now. Starts with Mbakis in goal, Kalen Ryden, because the communication just has to be better. As Jimenez steps, they're actually set up right now for success. But watch, David Bruce doesn't pass off. Azira doesn't slide over. Kalen Ryden doesn't step in. Do's and don'ts. Those are easy ones to simplify the effort if you're New Mexico United. Nothing groundbreaking from Lou City, but executed magnificently.
Del Piccolo actually had a brace on opening day this year too, so not the first time he's managed this. Moreno in an offside position. Okay, Devin, we knew Troy Lessane's used to having 10,000 plus at the lab, that the players wouldn't be overwhelmed by this experience, and yet now you're down 2 goals inside a quarter hour. How do you mentally get yourself back in this game?
Talk to the 4th official, restart the clock. That's the easiest answer. Go back to 90 minutes and we can start this thing all over. Let's clear the score sheet and get us back to zeros.
Where do you get that remote? Bed, Bath, and Beyond?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah?
So, again, I just alluded to one of them. It's communication, but it's also just stepping up the tempo a little bit here. On the breakdown of the goal, Troy Lessane will just say, guys, we're making this hard on ourselves. And I'm not taking anything away from Lou City and what they've been able to do so far. But that little 1-2, Oscar Jimenez, Ownby slides out, plays him in, the ball gets knocked back down. That's not even training ground stuff, Mike. That's stuff you're just messing around in your backyard going, hey, let's have a little fun. Super easy to track, and yet still the level that we've seen over the past couple of matches for New Mexico United, all of that beautiful rotation, they forgot everything. Offensively and defensively, and they're scrambling. And so what happens is your mind gets all twirled up. It's like a scrambled egg, and you don't know how to get back inside your shell. That does start with just one simple sequence. Ball coming out of the back. Kalen Ryden finding a run of Sergio Rivas down the right flank. An overlapping run by David Najam. Do the simple stuff. Stop worrying about everything that's in front of you, because they can control most everything that's going on right now.
If you're tuning in a bit late, you've missed quite the explosion from Louisville at the outset. Couple goals inside 15 minutes for Paolo Del Piccolo. Louisville trying to regain the lead in the Central Division. They're a point behind Birmingham Legion. They also clinch a spot in the USL Championship playoffs with a win or draw today. 8th and 14th minute for the Louisville captain. New Mexico, on the other hand, 4th in the Mountain Division. They knew this was going to be a tough game on the road. Anything they could take out of it's a plus. As we enter the stretch run of the season, the final month, October 30th is the final day of the regular season, and then we'll begin the playoffs the following weekend, concluding November 28th with the USL Championship final. And finally, we are guaranteed a new champion. No final last year because of COVID-19. And so Real Monarchs,
figure out where you were going.
Real Monarchs were still reigning champion of that trophy, and they were eliminated.
I think the kids call that shade, by the way.
I'm saying nothing.
Okay.
We have a reigning Eastern Western Conference champion, Tampa Bay and Phoenix. And we may well see Unfinished Business Part 3 come November 28th. Jimenez bangs that off Yearwood.
Much better. Now keep them here. That's one of those movements that I talked about for New Mexico United, where you continue to just push the pressure, reset the line a little bit higher. Danny Cruz, head of Lou City right now, will recognize everything that's going to be thrown at him. That's one thing I will say about both of these coaches. Danny Cruz for Louisville City, Troy Lessane for New Mexico United. Well versed of exactly what the game plan is going to be from the opposition. almost to a fault, right? They go down the rabbit hole, and it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth option. And sometimes all you got to do, just put one pass, next step, little overlap, ball in the corner, smile, wave. 2 goals for Del Piccolo. I'm sure that's exactly how they wrote it up.
Sure. Ownby was brought down, and the advantage didn't play out. By the way, Danny Cruz, 31 years old. Troy Lesane, 37. Harry Watling is somewhere in between them. A Hartford head coach, but among the younger coaches in this league.
32 days apart, you mentioned they were born? Is that right? 36. That number sounds right.
You could spend the next hour throwing numbers at me, and I'm not going to remember. Tenari. Bruce. Ryan Ownby on the run. Mentioned at the outset, finally healthy. A lot of muscle injuries over the last couple of years. It just seems like whenever he got to his peak, quickly dissipated due to some ailment or another. He's got a career high in assists. There's Hubbard. Rivas dips that in nicely. Tenari trying to hold up. Masoso got that last. It's a corner to come. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. Select, the official ball supplier of the USL Championship and many of the elite leagues throughout Europe. For the latest Select products and special offers, visit selectsportamerica.com. Weehan will hit the corner. Left over the offseason to go to his hometown, Orange County. Transferred back in one of the biggest intra-league transfers in league history in August. And he's paid dividends. Weehan. That's Del Piccolo with the first header. Falls for Najim. Second ball's away too. Ownby. Rivas in hot pursuit. Bruce. Moreno's got a step on Tosh. 1v1. Moreno. Tosh up to the task.
Got to release it quicker. Most of the pathways coming back through the middle. We're quickly being shut down by Lou City, but you have to release that ball. Interesting to note that on the inside, with those steps coming from Andrew Tenari, the coverage is actually coming from Sergio Rivas. That's a role that we haven't really seen that deep in the New Mexico United midfield so far this season. However, he is very comfortable because that's where he was primarily used under Ian Russell at Reno over the past couple seasons.
What a ball it was. Lancaster brought down. He's arguing he was through on goal if he's not tugged down, and calling for denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. It's only going to be a yellow.
That's a stretch. He's got Austin Yearwood. That's also picked up the run. Now he's still got some distance to close after this turn does happen. But there's plenty of space to recover here.
Rashid Tete goes into the book. That's his 4th card of the season and his 16th start, the Ghanaian center back.
Cameron Lancaster now. I'm sure he's more than happy to have a go.
Wouldn't surprise you.
And this is mythic lore for Lancaster.
Lancaster did indeed go for goal. Despite a marginal bobble, Tambakis has that covered. Lancaster, 15 goals. Among the league's great scorers, but, well, his record may soon fall. Single season goal scoring record in this league is 25. It's been that way for 3 years, but Haji Berry of Colorado Springs on 24th thought he had the record-tying goal in a draw last night. Alas, own goal.
Why is it that when we look at the Golden Boot race every single year, OG is never up there? I feel like OG could make a run at this thing too, right?
Ownby. The service Ownby's provided, maybe.
Dad joke of the day gone.
Yeah. It'll be a throw for Gomez. He wants to go. Bone. Ownby. Suwahi. There's an element of Louisville for a while feeling like they created enough chances. They just weren't scoring them. That's changed today. This is onside, or is it? It's not. The flag does go up. That was Gomez and Lancaster in unison. A terrifying thought for any goalkeeper. Penny for Danny Cruz's thoughts. Danny Cruz taking over after the first game of the season. John Hackworth leaving the franchise. Danny Cruz was the technical director and an assistant coach to Hackworth, who had previously coached him in the youth national team. Cruz, pretty renowned player, but at the age of 31, handed the keys to a Corvette, and so far so good. Floated forward, that's away. Jimenez. Big game in the Atlantic yesterday, Dev. You and I had the call for that. The Rowdies 2-1 over Charleston. Suddenly the Battery's playoff hopes are getting rather dim with the run that Charlotte Independence are on. Atlanta and Indy share the spoils to the benefit of Oklahoma City and Memphis. That Miami-Pittsburgh game was something else.
Apparently, in the last 10 minutes. Crazy. Paul Dalglish lit a fire under his boys against Bob Lilly and co.
El Paso dropping points, Colorado Springs as well. Let's not forget the way the Mountain Division is structured right now. New Mexico could well still play a home game at the Lab. I mean, it's a lot tighter beneath El Paso than you'd probably think on its face. Attack is on here. Rolled over, Moreno spins, dashing through, trying to get Weehan.
The difference there is that El Paso Locomotive seems to have multiple games in hand on everybody in the league. Get alone everybody in the Mountain Division. 2 on Colorado Springs, even with San Antonio, 1 on New Mexico United. But New Mexico United, you start to continue that process. This is all about a process for them. It's so cliche, right? But for a team that, to be honest, Mike, has really lacked an identity this season. The talent has never been an issue. We've already talked about that. I mentioned the change in formation. That was actually something that the players brought to Troy Lesesne and said, we want to take a good, long, hard look at this. And it's always been in the back of his mind. This system, sitting with the 3 that they started in, heck of a challenge there, was actually something that he wanted to employ as an assistant under Mike Jeffries at the Charlotte Independence. It's the reason the Independents are currently playing in a 3-back, wing-back style system.
That's right.
But the results just weren't coming, and with all of the talent here, you didn't want to let that slip away. There's too much of an opportunity, so add Chris Weehan back in, and here we are.
Collision there, this will run out. You saw the other games going on tonight in the championship. You'll see those live on ESPN+.
OKC San Antonio, give it to me. I'm here for that.
I think New Mexico fans have something to watch in that game based on where San Antonio is in the Mountain Division standings.
Vested interest.
That's it.
Much like Birmingham Legion tweeting out that Louisville City and New Mexico United are playing this. We've always been New Mexico United fans.
Sure. Everyone wants to join the New Mexico bandwagon.
Well, that's a measuring stick, though, outside of their own division for Lee Viedman and Energy FC. Alan Marcina's done such a good job with San Antonio in the Mountain Division. They're finally getting healthy. I've said to you all season long that the quality they can bring to a field. So many different looks. Cam Lindley in the midfield. 6 MLS draft picks overall. 3 first-rounders. Not a bad resume, is it? Doesn't mean anything, though, if you can't get into the postseason and make some noise.
Speared forward by Tosh. Half an hour in. Louisville point off the pace in the Central. New Mexico trying to put a little distance between themselves and RGV. The USL on ESPN's final linear telecast in English this year until the playoffs. Louisville hoping to make sure they're there again. They clinch with a win or draw this afternoon at Lynn Family Stadium, this gorgeous building that they opened a year ago. They will play a host to College Cup sometime down the line, which means hopefully Devin will be there to call it.
It's the rumor, isn't it?
Well, no, you'll call it.
Yeah, no, I was talking about college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Louisville, couple goals inside 15 minutes. Paulo Del Piccolo continuing that incredible goal-scoring run that he's been on all season long. He steps in and wins the ball here. Del Piccolo sitting on a hat trick. Over to Lancaster. Lancaster! Tambakis pushes this aside, and Azira takes over in the corner. Tambakis, 6th player in league history to 350 saves. He's got a ways to go to get to 400, but the way Louisville's playing today, don't say he can't.
The magic number is 21, Mike. Well, now 20.
Yeah.
That was one of the main looks they went after in the offseason, though. Alex Tambakis and the goalkeeping position. Of course, the departure of Cody Mizell, his opportunity to go to the MLS and continue to chase that path. How is that vacancy going to be filled? And the name that continuously came up was Alex Tambakis. Of course, Troy Lesesne very familiar with that goalkeeper. Time with the Charleston Battery, the United organization, and then, of course, North Carolina FC, Dave Sarakin.
And look, he said, we asked Alex to wait because we didn't know what Cody Mizell's situation was going to end up being. So he did. He waited to see.
And that happened really late.
Yeah, the number 1 job would even be available at New Mexico. Dave Sarakin used to say he's as good as any keeper in the USL Championship. I don't think New Mexico fans are going to quabble with that point.
Well, the only issue he's going to have is filling the cultural shoes of Cody Mizell. You know, that was a cult hero. You could see everything that he did for the team on the field, but he just had such an in-tune personality with the fans behind him at the lab. Somos Unidos ringing loud, singing true anytime he was in between the pipes, which was pretty much every single game.
It was the case almost every single home game. New Mexico didn't play a single home game in the regular season last year. That's part of why Troy Lesesne won co-coach of the year in the league. 8-4-3, still made the postseason. Got to the conference semifinal against El Paso, fell in penalties. Hubbard will trot back. Takes the long road to drive this away.
This little change still has me not frazzled. You can understand the thought process behind it, but the little switch between Andrew Tenari and Sergio Rivas, they're having some trouble with it because it's not consistent enough when they decide to make that change. So when Tenari steps and Rivas slides back, sometimes there's a 2 or 3 second gap, and that's a long time when this ball's moving side to side. So there's a 10, 15, 20-yard gap at times for Lucidi to play through. That was another one. Ball comes up to the right, goes back up over the top, and everything on this left-hand flank ripe for the picking.
Jimenez stands over the ball. Launches it. Tosh! Got a good piece of that.
He's due, isn't he? Averaging 1 per season his entire professional career. Sean Tosh yet to make himself known in the 2021 campaign. Not a bad effort from a center back. Outside of the right foot, drifting to the backside, momentum carrying you away from that near post.
Do you think he would have untucked the shirt if he had scored that? Tucked in, locked in his long-time approach?
No, that's not him. Prim and proper. Sean Tosh always is. Even in his cooking escapades, we did a little behind-the-scenes action a couple weeks back. Big sous vide fan. Low temperature, water cooking. He does it with ribs, and still haven't gotten that invite.
Ownby cuts back. Lancaster went in, and, well, that's led to an injury for New Mexico. We're trying to turn this the other way. And with the change of possession, referee's going to go back and look at this. That's Tete. Sacrificed his body to get in front of Lancaster.
Gets caught up underneath him, too. This is a goal-saving tackle. Lancaster cutting this back across the body. He's already heading back to the center circle for his first goal of the night. A little step in. It's really hard to tell from the angle where the discomfort comes from. You see him immediately reach for that right ankle.
And the athletic trainer's gone out to take a look. See Josh Suggs among those warming up. I want to talk about a player who made a name for himself early in his tenure at New Mexico. So they'll work on Tete for a moment. 37th minute. Let's walk you through the goals to this point. Paulo Del Piccolo. These are going to look like mirror opposites.
I mentioned to you that it was nothing groundbreaking what they were doing. It was just a lack of communication from New Mexico United. Ball comes up. No one steps immediately. Tete doesn't come as Najum comes to the inside. That creates the path for him to decide where he wants to go with this. The best part is, though, Mike, you don't have to decide. Multiple runs. Jogo at the top of the box, Cameron Lancaster on the near post, and El Capitan Paulo Del Piccolo sticks it into the back of the net. Fast forward 6 minutes, carry the one. Yep, that's right. And you go the other direction. This time, Oscar Jimenez down to the byline. Brian Ownby, you're welcome. Cut back across, and guess who? Yeah, it's not Cameron Lancaster. Paulo Del Piccolo, 2 goals in 6 minutes to give Lou City their lead.
Goals 6 and 7 of the season for Del Piccolo. He was the championship final MVP when Louisville won it for the first time. Crowd applauded a moment ago. It's Tete up to his feet. It's actually been a rather busy day for New Mexico United making the trip in because they brought their academy side as well. USL Academy match between Louisville and New Mexico was actually delayed for an hour by thunderstorms this morning, but they did get the game in, finished 0-0. This game, on the other hand, was never a threat for 0-0. Charles Sain's gone over to check on Tete. He'll continue. Both these organizations have taken such pride in getting the academy right. Somos Unidos Foundation in New Mexico taking a major stake in the development of young players in Albuquerque and in the state of New Mexico.
It's got to be one of my favorite stories from the academy level around the United States and everything that they've done. You know, it's fundraisers, it's donations, regular contributions from some of their donors to make sure that no player ever pays for a single thing. Scholarshiped throughout the entire Somos Unidos Foundation. It's allowed guys like Christian Nava come up through an academy contract, push himself into the first team. Andres Robles, another one.
Turned over here to Najum. Moreno. Tenari leading, Bruce crossing. Ownby pumps the brakes, wins the ball, flies the other way. Mark Ollerton allows play to continue. Ownby gallops.
Watch this cut on the far side. Here it comes.
And that's a good interception by Tete, who just come back into the game.
That's a beautiful step because it's Lancaster, Opino, and Jonathan Gomez. That comes through. Dinner served.
Go back to it, even for Louisville, they build that great new training facility, multiple fields, and mogul and winder. And to be fair, another winder. Have started to push themselves through. And if you think about Jonathan Gomez, he came in as a 17-year-old. The initial thought for John Hackworth and Danny Cruz was maybe he'll get into the Open Cup in 2020. And then that season takes such a massive turn. And they've got a goal here to try and develop young players for both organizations and turn this into a distinct long-term local flavor of homegrown talent. This will spring across to Najum. Let's say this, Winder wouldn't have played if he wasn't ready. Nava wouldn't have played if he wasn't ready. That's what's so exciting. Give a lot of credit to John Neese, Peter Trevisani, the ownership groups, the front offices for having the foresight to try and build this right.
Yeah, they truly get it right at every level.
I mean, New Mexico just put an issue on the ballot for this coming fall to their city council. It's past that point now to build a new stadium in downtown Albuquerque. And we've seen the renderings, the drawings. We saw the renderings of this one too, and it pretty much looks identical to what we expected, so we can hope when New Mexico gets their stadium, it can live up to that.
Pretty much every conversation that you have with someone at the New Mexico United organization, most recently ours with Troy Lesane, this is who they're modeling after.
Yep.
They look at Lou City and say, we're going to take some of this, some of that, mix it together, throw in some of that great flair that is Albuquerque.
Opino a second time with a ricochet off the back of Tete, goes right to Tambakis. Opino scored a tremendous goal against Hartford on ESPN2 last month.
Watch the deflection, and this thing just wobbles on the backside of it. Comes off, second bite, great cut back across. And as this comes off Tete, look at the ball, it still stays without any rotation at all. Creates a little drop in it. Stands tall, Tambakis.
Through the old Tim Wakefield at him, huh? Tete. You know, Peter Trevisani's in the building, the owner for New Mexico. Troy Lesane spoke about it with us when we spoke to him ahead of this match. The results, the stadium, the training facility, this should be the goal. So far, the results have been really good for New Mexico in just their third season in franchise history. The side that exploded onto the scene playing in the U.S. Open Cup, reaching the quarterfinal in their first year. Drop back to Moreno. He wants the return. He and Rivas not quite on the same page.
Just reading different books, man. Fiction and non-fiction for New Mexico United. Great step defensively by Lou City. But the numbers are there for United. Taking the steps forward. You just have to process it about a half second sooner. Because that ball, even if it goes through, Mike, it didn't need to go there. It needed to come back to the right, come back square. So much space available to them, and yet they keep forcing themselves into these unforced errors and unforced areas. Lou City happy to take it.
Coming up at halftime, some of the impact transfers around the USL Championship. Take a look at highlights and stats as well. We'll also talk about the collective bargaining agreement that the USL Players Association and the USL have ultimately come to an agreement to just this week. what it means for the future of the league. It's all coming up here at halftime, the USL on ESPN. This is Ryden. Hang up for Najim.
Some of those different looks that I talked about, Mike, with New Mexico United, Chris Wehan just trying to find a rhythm right now. He's got to be on the ball more. Everybody does. But him, most importantly. Work through Chris Wehan. The tracking runs defensively will come from Louisville City. As he pulls, he's going to drag other people with him, and that's going to open up other space, other options. Seen the steps from Tenari. Not great decision making. But most importantly, they've got to be on the ball more, because the unforced errors that I've referenced, it's not just turning it over. It's turning it over on spots for Louisville where they easily pick it up, and then they counterpunch going the other way. It's that long ball distribution out of the back, and the next thing you know, you've had to reset your line. So you carry possession for 70, 80, 90 seconds. You get all the way on the other side of the midfield. You do all the hard work, and then that simple little ball breaks down. Easy for Louisville to step in.
There's Bone trying to get after Tenari there. Mondo Moreno pirouettes away from that. Moreno, time in the Red Bull organization, came up through their academy, moved on to Tijuana in Mexico. Was there for about 3 years. Did feature a bit for the first team there. Went into Red Bull 2, on to Chicago, and has fit in really nicely for New Mexico up front. Rivas. Bruce. Tosh went to ground. Moreno! Armando Moreno grabs a giant goal on the stroke of halftime. And the traveling faithful from New Mexico finally have something to cheer about.
Just before the finale, it's that square ball back across we've been asking for. All the numbers, great movement here by United. And though you don't take the express lane, if you're Daniel Bruce, you still pay the toll at the top of the box. Excellent second ball back through, takes Tosh to ground, and the trailing run by Armando Moreno. Could it be Wehan? Could it be Rivas? Tenari? Could have been any single one of them. But Moreno, who's come on as of late, 5th on the season, 1st of the night, New Mexico United back in it.
Let's be real clear, the halftime talk will still likely be a bit scathing. It wasn't the best from New Mexico, but they've got that goal now, the momentum and the hope, and the fans that made the trip all the way from New Mexico have something to cheer for. Impact transfers around the league, something we'll tell you all about. We've got a 2-1 game at the half of the USL on ESPN. Welcome back to the USL Championship on ESPN from Lynn Family Stadium in Kentucky, Louisville City, and New Mexico United at the half. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr back with you. They have a lot of impact transfers in this window around the league.
Big fan of the varying nature of all of them and how they impact their squad. So you take a guy like Chris Wehan, and it's one individual, right? But exploding him into the midfield allows everybody else to cultivate the attack going forward. But then you look at a team like the Charlotte Independents, who have added multiple options at different levels. Christian Fuchs, Bundesliga, Premier League, on the back line for Mike Jeffries. How about Sylvain Marveaux? His background in French Ligue 1, New Mexico United. There's a theme here, Mike, in case you haven't followed me in Charlotte. And how about Gabriel Aubertin, what he's done in the midfield? These three guys have played at a world-class level, both domestic and international, and they are a dark horse, what people call, don't sleep on them, they're not a dark horse, they are a contender in the Atlantic Division. And then there's Darren Maddox, who carries the pedigree, both at the international level for the Reggae Boys in MLS and now the USL Championship with Phoenix Rising, who, plain and simple, what do they need, Mike? They need a striker up top in the 9. They get it. 2 transfers, departures, historic. Jonathan Gomez, Michi Galina, what they've done for the league, what they've done for the clubs, and what they can do for the future of their magnificent organizations and the USL Championship.
And perhaps no surprise that all these impact transfers are on impact teams in the USL Championship. Louisville City and Jonathan Gomez at the half taking on Chris Wehan and New Mexico United. We've got plenty more coming up. First half highlights, second half kick right around the bend on the USL on ESPN. Halftime of the USL on ESPN. Deb, you want to grab those seats next game?
I'm in. But we can't call it from there, right?
No,
Okay.
we can't.
Got
2-1 Louisville over New Mexico United. And the fans were a little higher up, had something to cheer for at the end of the first half as well. Welcome back in, everybody. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Dev, we had a plan for what we were going to talk about at halftime, and it's dissipated because of the goal that New Mexico scored right before the break.
But it's also everything that we've seen out of Louisville City in 2021. Beautiful rotation, fast starts, couple of goals. Maybe not necessarily from Paolo Del Piccolo, but still good finishes and combination play. And conceding at the end. Now, normally that comes at the end of the game, but little asterisk on the first half for Louisville City in what was a great first half for the home squad. Nice build-up, long ball up over the top. Here's where the rotation gets them in trouble, and you're going to see the same thing on the second goal. Najim is too high, doesn't track over Furtete, doesn't track in fast enough, and then nobody else comes on the closure to the near post. Caleb Ryden's got to get tight on Cameron Lancaster. He can't have that option. Neither can Del Piccolo. Same story. As Jimenez steps, where's the step out? No one on the back line, no one from the midfield. Daniel Bruce doesn't pass off. Austin Yearwood steps up, and it's real easy for Jimenez to just step in behind, find a runner. Del Piccolo, 2-0 Louisville City.
2 goals for Del Piccolo, 7 now on the year, and then in stoppage time.
It's the whole thing. I kept saying stop moving away from your options. You push yourself into the corner. Take what Louisville is giving you. That square back ball back across has been there the entire time. It's the first time they picked their heads up, found someone coming back across, and guess what? It ends up in the back of net. That's a great finish to a team that struggled heavily against Louisville City in the first half.
Here are the halftime stats. 9 shots to 2. You'd say Louisville owned the majority of the 45 minutes. Problem is they don't own the scoreline all that convincingly.
Could be 4-0, but it's not. And that's going to be the conversation for Troy Lesesne right now. Guys, that was nowhere near our best, and yet still we are in striking distance. Danny Cruz, Louisville City, time to get back on track if you guys want to look at that number 1 overall seed.
Well, we've got top hats and young fans. Flags being handed out throughout the day. Louisville a 2-1 lead at the half. Second half coming up.
Back to the USL Championship on ESPN. Louisville a 2-1 advantage over New Mexico United at halftime. There was some major news this week that affects the players you see right now and the players that'll join this league in years to come. This was a statement put out by the USLPA's executive committee alongside management at USL and the ownership groups around the league. 3 years of work and negotiations have led to a collective bargaining agreement. What does that mean? Over the next 5 years, there's going to be more standardized efforts within the compensation structure, as well as for player contracts, new requirements for teams and working and living conditions for players, new grievance procedures added as well. The agreement runs through 2025, and each team promoted these, which, you know, I can clearly see Sean Tosh's signature for what it's worth. The other's a little tougher to tell. Every team had every player on their roster sign. These were promoted on social this week. Congratulations to the players and to USL labor peace for years to come.
Pro tip, by the way, Mike, follow the yellow brick number. If you follow the number, you're never going to get it wrong. But you're spot on. That needed to happen, right? It's not a luxury. That needed to happen for these players and for this league.
No, it's an enormous step for soccer in North America and for the players that we've come to really enjoy watching play over the past decade. So congrats to all involved. 2-1 Louisville over New Mexico as we kick off the second half. Louisville trying to clinch a playoff position with a win or a draw. Birmingham is hoping that New Mexico can spring an upset and put a little distance between Louisville and New Mexico in the Central Division standings. Louisville and Birmingham, rather. For New Mexico, trying to get distance between themselves and RGV for the fourth and final playoff position in the Mountain Division. And all the while, Louisville's got some number one seed implications in mind as well for New Mexico, just trying to make sure they get into the dance in November. Tosh will send this back. There were some changes at halftime for New Mexico. Josh Suggs and Devin Sandoval have come in. Najim and Chris Weehan come out, Dev. I think Weehan's a bit of a surprise.
It's a surprise in the sense of what he can do for this team. It's not considering the first half performance that was put in. He just struggled to get himself into the game. We saw him searching a lot. I talked about him coming deep into the midfield, almost 20, 30 yards from goal at certain points, and having to try and get the attack going. But that never really happened. And now with these additions, it gives you a couple of options. Number one, fresh blood and an identity within the second half of what you can go do coming out of the dressing room. Number two, these changes normally occur. They just don't normally occur until the 55th, 60th, 65th minute mark. And they've happened over the past 3 games, Mike, with a lead. They've happened with a league. They change their formation. They rotate guys around. It gives it a different look. And the opposition hasn't been able to chase. But now they're chasing. Louisville City is in the driver's seat with the scoreline. New Mexico United trying to track it down. Would love to see if they're going to pivot initially into a 3 or if they're going to stay in a 4, keep Suggs on the outside, and try and attack the same way they did at the tail end of the first half.
Tail end of the first half in which New Mexico scored in stoppage time through Amando Moreno. This ball bouncing through. Lancaster will watch it into the hands of Tambakis. For New Mexico, it's 3 wins on the bounce. One of them was a road win. They had gone 8 in a row without a road victory until they beat San Antonio. 1 win and a couple draws in that span. Coming into one of the toughest atmospheres to play in the championship, even on a Sunday matinee. Whistle's going to go against Andrew Tanari. He's been leading jogs in the Albuquerque area.
It's pronounced jogging, by the way.
Yeah, that's,
come on, man.
I wouldn't know.
Check the pronunciation guide, Mike.
Good blokes jog. Lancaster with a bit of a false step forward. And through Panathinaikos Tambakis, first signing in Atlanta United history once upon a time. He only played 1 game for them.
your answer, by the way, with what this is going to look like for New Mexico United. Go with 2 up top. Devin Sandoval, Armando Moreno, your goal scorer just before halftime. Great ball by Daniel Bruce, who will now occupy the wingback spot on the right side, just off the shoulder of Tete. That's going to give him some help defensively. Both Rashid Tete and Austin Yearwood struggled in the first half when the pressure was coming and those diagonals into the corner and balls up over the top. Josh Suggs on the left next to Yearwood. Now you've got proper coverage there, but can you keep the midfield intact? If it's Azira Tenari and Sergio Rivas chasing, scrambling in one-on-ones with Masoso, Bone, and Del Piccolo, can you win that battle? That's what this is going to come down to here in the second 45 minutes.
Moreno trying to get in behind and corkscrewing through the air. Tosh lands on the field. Tosh not privy to these conversations. And Devin, with all the tactics you're talking at this stage, there is an element of, for the layman, even the general formations, take rotation out and certainly the personnel. These are two coaches just trying to figure out the best way to get the best 11 on the field in the best position to succeed. Louisville's toyed around with the idea of a 3 or a 4, and they've made those changes in games. New Mexico certainly has changed formation a couple of times this year.
Well, you take the common analogy you hear from people is chess over checkers, right? It's the next move. This isn't that with these two coaches right now. With the changing of the formations, the changing of the guard in certain areas. Chris Weehan coming in as your attacking midfielder. You look at a guy like Napo Masoso coming in to shore up the midfield for Lou City. It's like mahjong and checkers and, you know, Candyland all combined in one. The coaches just, they're having fun with all of the assets that they have at their disposal. Look how deep Devin Sandoval is right now. That's nothing new, but when you pull him deep and then you almost create a 3 trying to press and challenge Louisville City playing out of their own back, that is something you don't always see. And what ends up happening is, for New Mexico United, Rivas pinches out, Sandoval goes central, Moreno comes high. You bypass that initial line of confrontation if you're Lou City. Now you've got a great matchup because you've got 3v2 on the inside, but you've still got to get by that. And that's the initial look you're going to see. Louisville City, this is going to be about rotation right now and when you're going to make those subs, because Danny Cruz, though not predictable in nature of where their subs are going to come from, has changed at the tail end of each game, switching to 3s because they've had the lead, because they've tried to hold on to it. They don't need to hold on right now. They need to get back into this game and continue to be the aggressor.
The aggressor right now is Moreno, who slides down, and Tosh whistled for a foul, a free kick for New Mexico.
This is on the first challenge that Sean Tosh puts in, not the second one that is going to catch the eye of everyone. That's his fault on a giveaway. You can't turn to the inside like that. It's that little nudge right there from behind. That is a cause for concern for Mark Alton, our head referee. And now watch out, right or left. Either direction. Josh Suggs, great service, and they can also go direct here. Chris Hubbard's got to put 4. Don't go with 3. Give yourself proper coverage so you can cheat to the back post a little bit. It's still going to have to be something super impressive from this distance if you want to hit it direct.
For all the good Louisville did in the first half, New Mexico could draw level with a well-hit set piece here. Suggs or Rivas will put it in play. Rivas went for the near post with a deflection. In goes Jimenez. And last touch by Moreno. There's a real lively hop in New Mexico's step right now.
I'm sure it had nothing to do with the kind words being passed around the locker room at halftime.
And I assume if you're Troy Lesesne, how much do you change the tone of your talk when you get that goal? All of a sudden, okay, guys, we have momentum. Or are you still saying, look, that wasn't good enough?
Both. You start with the positive. You build your team up and say, great, guys, what a finish that was to the first half. I love the fact that you stayed, you persevered, you continue to go after it even though you weren't at your best. Now, how do we change where we weren't good?
Moreno overtaken by Masoso.
A lot of times I kept saying to you that this wasn't because they were that poor, right? Both goals, though Lou City executed, New Mexico United could have easily stepped in. That didn't happen. And more importantly, on the offensive side of the ball, for guys like Amando Moreno, who goes into the book in the 54th minute, or Sergio Rivas, as you stepped forward, Chris Wehan, you just didn't have any sort of vision of what they were trying to do. Everything moved away from a danger area, even when you had the chance to step in.
Amando Moreno goes into the book. The referee counted out just how many ticky-tack fouls he's had along the way. Got his Salvadoran passport in June, debuted against Qatar. Was in the U.S. under-21s once upon a time for some camps. At the end of the day, choosing to represent El Salvador, native of New Jersey. Moreno hoping to build up here. Bruce struck from behind by Holpino, who thought he had won that cleanly. Moreno,
great work.
Sprays this into the channel. Suggs serves. Ball out back across. Moreno leading. Onby. Louisville's going to try and change the tenor of this game right now. Niall McCabe replaces Corbin Bone.
That's the longest we've seen out of Corbin Bone for Lou City in recent memory, still making his way back from injury. It's the piece that I pretty much said the entire season, Mike. They look lost without him, especially when things don't exactly go your way playing into Cameron Lancaster. If Brian Ownby is not available or Antoine Openo's not on.
It's a late whistle, but it is a handball. Masoso's arm extended, trying to bring that the other way, and this is a free kick just outside the penalty area.
I'd like to pay a little credit to the referee here, by the way, because we don't often do this. Mark Allerton is spot on. He sees it the whole way, and as it bounces up off the deck, he's allowing what he thinks could be advantage because of the possession and the area. Now, Lou City are on it, but if he steps in, anyone for New Mexico United, that's a clear-cut advantage for them. Instead, Masoso steps off, blow a foul, none the wiser. Well done by Mark Allerton here.
That's the first time in USL on ESPN history that Devon's paid a compliment to a referee.
No one heard it. That's fortunate. We're not recording either, so we're all set.
Bruce and Suggs await. Plenty of options here for New Mexico. Bruce. No, Piccolo. Azira. Bit overzealous in leaping up. A regular in this league, Mark Allerton.
Let's see how quickly Niall McCabe gets himself into this game. Coming on for Corbin Bone. You referenced the energy. We're approaching the quarter-hour mark in the second half for what New Mexico United has brought to the table. And Corbin Bone, that's a load management thing, trying to get him up to that 90-minute mark. Pretty close to 60. Now McCabe, Mr. Lou City, the only original remaining from that 2015 squad.
30-year-old Irishman has a family in Louisville now. 7th year of Louisville City. McCabe's been the constant. A bit of a Swiss Army knife for Louisville of late. Moreno tap dancing. Now flicks it over the top. Ball brought down, Sandoval. Rivas. let's say this about Louisville's substitution patterns. The injuries have been part of it. You're also getting to the end of the year. You're coming off a long road trip. You're playing a bunch of games in a short amount of time. The game in Atlanta midweek this week, Lancaster and Omby come off around the hour mark. That was a pre-planned sub, as you'll often see. Danny Cruz said that was, for a non-decision, among the toughest decisions I've had to make. I can't appease my ego at the potential injury risk of a player. So while you're level and you need the points, you also need to think about the long run.
That's great. Big picture, right? You go chase 2 extra points, and all of a sudden those 2 players go down, and you lose them for the rest of the year. People at home are probably sitting going, well, that's not going to be the case. That's never going to happen. That's exactly why they made the change, though. You run these guys into the ground, especially with all the injuries they have, Mike. You run them into the ground. They're human. Their bodies are eventually going to break down. Now, whether that's in the 40th minute of a 3-game run over 8 days or 90 minutes back to back to back, it's going to happen.
Here's Omby playing with freshness. Omby rolls across. He's looking for Lancaster. That's the combination we were just speaking to. Swung ahead by Jimenez. That was crafty. Omby lines this up. Yearwood, who's been tremendous for New Mexico this year, sends this caroming down the tunnel. If load management wasn't a thing, it wouldn't be talked about by most every sports scientist and every coach in most every sport you're watching.
The big question is with your substitutions, can you get it right? It's one thing to say this guy needs a little bit of help. The question is, where does that support come from?
Jimenez caught by Tembakis with Omby stalking in behind.
They are going to need that here in the second half with the way that New Mexico United, they're starting to press a lot more than we saw in the first. Change the shape. Azira and Tenari are still sitting underneath everybody, but what you are getting is a real comfortable feeling from Daniel Bruce and Josh Suggs because they're giving you that presence on the outside, but when they pinch to the in, that's where they're becoming the most dangerous. Every single player right now feels like they're covering 6 and 7 positions because they are. Now Bruce is really high, but you still have to maintain your balance because even though they've been on the front foot here, Lou City can strike just like that.
Holpino went down in the box. No whistle. Holpino is stunned. What a little buildup that was through Gomez and Lancaster. Floated down to Tosh. Louisville can clinch with a win or draw a spot in the USL Championship playoffs this afternoon in the Central Division. Meanwhile, in the Mountain Division, New Mexico in 4th, massive points on the line for them. This will come to Tembakis. Top 4 in each group will go through. We'll see a little cross-pollination. The 1 from the Pacific will play the 4 from the Mountain in an East and West conference playoff format. Substitutions are coming. Chance to take a look back at Holpino going down in the box.
I love the fact that Mark Allerton lets these boys play a little bit. Ill-timed touch by Kalen Ryden. Mike, not only have I seen a pen called for this, I've been thrown out of games for this because you come from such a negative position on that quick little turn. This is a great tackle by Kalen Ryden, and it should stand. I love it that the referees let him play on. He gets all ball, a little contact on the backside of it, but a perfectly timed tackle by Kalen Ryden inside the box.
That's why he was first team All-League last year. Martinez comes on, the native of Brownsville, Texas. Andrew Tenari comes off. That's the 3rd substitute put on the field by Troy Lassane. 2 were at halftime, so 2 subs, 2 windows for New Mexico down the stretch here.
Let's see how deep he goes with Daniel Bruce, who's covered a lot of ground. Chasing the entire first half. You now move him onto the opposite side of the field. And the way that they're cheating right now with Josh Suggs, even though they're sitting with 3, they're still asking him to fulfill the same type of role we saw from Dejan Najam, almost as an outside marking back at times. And so they push Daniel Bruce really high. That also counterpunches against Jonathan Gomez. That doesn't allow him to come as far forward into the attack as Louisville City would like him. So now he's got more of a defensive responsibility that provides a pressure relief on the right side for New Mexico United and allows the guys on the inside to take a little break from here and there too.
Can't help but shake the feeling we'd have to excuse Antoine Hopino's French in that moment. The results for Louisville under most teams' expectations, 5 unbeaten all on the road, were great. Suggs crossing, Moreno skies it. Totally unmarked. New Mexico with a chance, just begging to be the equalizer.
That's what you get out of Josh Suggs, though. Just talked about the gamble on the left and how much they rely on him, both defensively and then to stretch the game going forward. How much respect is Sean Tosh going to give to this guy? You can't. Got to close down this space. Watch the little step off the deck. That right there. It looks so simple at home for Armando Moreno that he can just tuck this home, but it drops right in front of him. To catch this at an apex, almost impossible. And with his explosion into the box, Mike, very difficult to even get this on frame, yet alone close it out.
Masoso wins the free kick the other way. Well, for Louisville, there's frustration, I think, in the team, because even though they got back from this road trip first in the Central, they expect to be in that consideration #1 seed. There's no good road draw. They expect to win every time they go out, and that seems really simple, and yet we often don't see that all that consistently. In goes a 0 with the push to Del Piccolo. Louisville's preparing rather to make a couple of changes here. For what it's worth, the way Tampa Bay has played, is it 7 wins in a row now?
Stop counting after 1.
They went 891 minutes without conceding. You can see on Thursday the Rowdies will play the Battery, a game you'll see live on ESPN Deportes or in English on ESPN Plus. Perhaps the #1 seed in the East is slowly coming out of reach. Gomez will make his way off. Devin, the player, 18 years old, set to move to Real Sociedad in the winter window. Thoughts on his performance?
Even keeled, started well for himself. Wouldn't say that he blew anybody off the page, but it reached a certain point in time in this game for Louisville. What was the next step going to be? You're up 2-0, you're cruising. You got to see that out before halftime, can't concede. And so as you come out of the dressing room to start the second half, what's the purpose? Is this, hey guys, we've got a lead, let's survive? Because 22 minutes into the second half, that's what it is right now, Mike.
Hopino's come out as well.
So his role changed. It then became, can we find a way to get him involved as opposed to let's build through Jonathan Gomez. The building part is what's always there. He's one of the blocks that you have to play through. But that hasn't been an opportunity presented at all here in the second half for Louisville City. Jimenez switches now. McMahon will come to the right. It's an easy like for Danny Cruz. Doesn't have to make any formation change. What he has to do is get this guy's ideas back on track.
Suggs sends that into, correct me if I'm wrong, Devin, the longest bar in Kentucky.
You look at me like I keep note of everything on this subject.
You do.
But it may or may not be 52 feet long, and you know it's the Modelo Bar. It's just in front of the futsal court, but that's just what I hear. You know, I don't exactly know everything about it. Supposedly, that's also where the bat signal, the tunnel, little red phone, that's where it's all stored too.
Oh, sure. The Estopanol end is where the majority of the supporters sit here. That's on the opposite side. All the supporters groups considered a larger swath, the Purple family. Out in front of that bar, however, Scouse's house, which is very much on par with the expectation for that group that they'd sit there.
72 feet, by the way. Now I check the notes.
Okay.
Apologies,
well,
Brad Estes.
You said it may or may not be 52 feet. It wasn't.
Plus or minus 20 feet. It's not terrible. It's a guesstimation. 7 yards. It's a first down, basically.
The supporters culture that's grown here. It's just been remarkable. From Slugger Field, playing at a retrofitted baseball stadium, into this 15,000 seat stadium in Butchertown on the outskirts of downtown. So impressive. Moreno into Masoso's taken some real punishment in the second half. Martinez. In on Tosh. Cutting, serving, cleared, but right into Moreno. Moreno spins, fires off the crossbar, and ricochets out. Omby trying to carry it away, but can't clear the lines. Still New Mexico. Yearwood. This is going to belong to Louisville. They're spared their blushes on a blast by Armando Moreno.
Good little triangle on the inside right now. Michael Azira starts this move, and as Isidro Martinez comes back in. Does anybody here want to defend? Honestly, look at all of the space and no one stepping up into it. Finally, at the tail end of this, but you can't let Armando Moreno, with 20 yards and time to have this opportunity, hit the back of the net. Very fortunate it comes off the woodwork.
And then you see Troy Lesane at the end, thinking that should have been a corner.
I've never seen Sean Tosh give that amount of respect to a team as I have tonight. That was just Isidro Martinez. We saw it with Josh Suggs on the ball to the back post. The one that Moreno tucked up over the top. He's so even-keeled in his decision-making, Sean Tosh, on the back line for Louisville City. It's very uncharacteristic to see him tentative in that step, Mike. He's the first one there. The first tackle, the line of confrontation, closing the space down. He's there, but the space is still wide open.
McCabe. Chance for a resurface. Jimenez. Troy Lesane is an ardent watcher of the Eastern Conference. Coached at the College of Charleston, which is the home to the Battery at Patriots Point, that renovated venue. Assistant coach Mike Jeffries in Charlotte. He knew what to expect coming here to Louisville. They weathered a first half storm, grabbed a goal. They've had their chances to pull level on the afternoon. That's one of the new features of the 2021 USL Championship schedule, consistent interconference play. Omby tackled from behind, and Suggs came on at halftime, shown a yellow card.
It's deserved. Josh Suggs putting on the captain's armband here, has led by example, and just a bit late on this one. Louisville City having some trouble right now, trying to find a way to bypass the press, trying to play through the middle. Now McCabe coming deep. Masosa gets bumped up a little bit. You know, whether they're running a single midfielder on the inside, Mike, or a double, there's just a boatload of work being done defensively on the inside by New Mexico United. They want everything pushed to the outside, want to make them play direct. They're doing it. Not a lot of combination coming through the home squad right now.
McMahon can't corral that. Sandoval drops. McMahon flies in to take it back, and now Jimmy McLaughlin. McLaughlin trying to get by Tete. Wins this across and puts it in. He made his name on the other side of the river, but Jimmy McLaughlin scores a big goal for Louisville. And a tentative grip in this game has turned to a 3-1 lead.
Just like that, everything that played Louisville City on one side exposes New Mexico United on the other. Not much to it. Ball sprayed through. Michael Azira grabs the rotation on the inside, but one on the one with Rashid Tete. Watch his feet. Oh, how's your aim, Jimmy McLaughlin? Good for you. Simple little step over. Wants to rewrite the record books for the good guys. After he did it for FC Cincinnati, comes to Louisville City. Doesn't matter about the Dirty River Derby anymore. Jimmy McLaughlin on scoreboard, third of the season.
The baby-faced baritone scores his third goal this year. An ACL injury derailed his time at FC Cincinnati in 2019. 2020, injured again, just one game in MLS with FC Cincinnati. Chance to come back, play for Louisville. The arch rival of Cincinnati in their USL championship days. McLaughlin, one of those players that John Harkes brought into FC Cincinnati that was so critical to their early success. One time Louisville has dropped points leading at this stage of a game this year. Now with a 2-goal cushion and having withstood quite the tempest from New Mexico. 14 minutes to seal a playoff berth and to grab the #1 spot in the Central Division for the time being.
It's the first time that Louisville City have even taken aim at Alex Tambakis in the second half. Go figure. Bottom corner, one shot. At a 2-goal lead. That's what it's been like here. They've been all over chasing this United team.
Niall McCabe. Not sure Niall McCabe has ever thought a tackle that he put in was out of place. And Moreno caught by the purse-lipped McCabe.
For more communication behind him, and as this comes back over, this is a really reckless challenge, to be honest. It's late, it's blatant, it's high.
They say he can play anywhere except center back and goalkeeper.
Give him time.
It's his 6th yellow card this year. That's a place he's pretty accustomed to as well.
And their goal scorer in the 45th minute off the great ball by Daniel Bruce just before halftime. Ana Moreno was the spark that ignited this New Mexico United team into the second half.
Moreno being attended to. Louisville with a 3-1 lead. Moreno, that goal, could have had a second that could have put this match on level terms. If this result holds, Louisville will be 2 points clear of Birmingham. Lest we forget, Devin, they play each other on October 30th on the last day of the regular season.
Funny how that works out. Shout out to the USL Championship scheduling corps.
Wow, operations getting a shout out today.
You know, you would think that I would give a compliment and say, finally they got my emails and letters and notices. Aha, no. Still no response there. But scheduling was done great this year.
What are the odds Jake Edwards is sitting down at the table saying, okay, last day of the year, let's get decision day right, everybody?
Jake Edwards is sitting there going, how do we get Devin and Mike off the air as quick as possible? Who's the new duo coming in to replace them?
There's a lot of cheers here for Ilya Illich, who once had a double-double season in a Louisville uniform, the best year of his career back in 2018, 13 goals, 10 assists. Team won the title. Now in New Mexico colors. He initially jumped to the other side of the league's most fascinatingly named rivalry, the Louisville-Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest, before moving out west.
I was wondering how you were going to get that in.
It's never far away. So Moreno's done. That goal in the second minute of stoppage time paired with a yellow card. That yellow card, he was on accumulation warning, so he's unavailable for New Mexico's next match against RGV as well. Beg your pardon, against Hartford on the 6th. I bet Hartford's going to arrive ready to go to war in that game. Need of points. Put in play here for New Mexico. Hubbard smashes it away. Further by McCabe.
One of the great things about this Lou City team, Mike, is you see about 35, 40 really good minutes in a game, and yet still they're up 3-1 in the 82nd.
Ownby leaves this off, perhaps thought McCabe was trailing. Well, and Cameron Lancaster offensively, to be fair, likely drew a lot of the attention on those balls that eventually found Del Piccolo, but hasn't had the ball at his feet all that much at all in this game. You're talking a league MVP candidate year in and year out who just signed a multi-year deal with Louisville City ahead of this campaign.
He's touched the ball 15 times this game.
And yet, if you talk to Danny Cruz, when Cameron Lancaster's at his best, he's the one leading the press. He's the one defending from the front line.
Bingo.
All across from Martinez is cleared.
Was there a better representation of that than how they got their first goal, where he had already come deep, drew some of the back line with him as that ball goes down into the corner? He then makes that initial run to the near post. That frees up more space behind him for Paolo Del Piccolo.
Bruce.
There are multiple coaches around the USL Championship. I've talked to you about this behind closed doors that feel like Louisville's lost a step. And in those direct conversations, I've said, you are out of your mind.
I've been on some of these calls.
There are a couple things in the championship that you don't bet against.
Death taxes in Louisville City.
And Louisville City making the playoffs and making a run. That's simple math for me. And you know, I can't even put one and one together. That's an easy equation to figure out for Lou City. They start getting healthy. This is right around the time where every single year they turn the corner and, oh, it's form, it's the road, it's this, it's that. We don't like the color of the grass. You know, whatever's being thrown at them, they always seem to push through that, don't they? And it's the same story come playoff time. Louisville City, another force to be reckoned with, and an opportunity to make a run at a title. They're making that turn right now in front of your eyes.
And part of the reason Louisville's been so good for so long, Paolo Del Piccolo, he doesn't always get the scoring accolades, but he's coming off now 2 goals in tow.
There's the run by Lancaster, the little tuck home by Paolo Del Piccolo. Great touch in, because the pressure on the backside coming on the late defensive effort by Austin Yearwood can't be understated. That's a difficult finish for Paolo Del Piccolo. This one, a bit simpler. He's got to hold his shape on the inside as this goes down to Oscar Jimenez. He can't crash the party on the near post too early. He's got to sit in that tiny little window just in front of Ryden, the late closing run of Tete, and then redirect it past Alex Tambakis. Good shift by Paolo Del Piccolo.
Josh Winder comes on, and if you really want to feel old, I'll tell you he was born May 2nd, 2005. Kyle Gregg has replaced Cameron Lancaster up front as well. Gregg, the 31-year-old who almost saw his career come to a close, a very quiet one in St. Louis over the offseason. Goes home to Kansas City, waiting for a call. Louisville, a slew of injuries up front. And so two players in very different points of their career. Gregg, a historically good goal scorer in this league, continuing at Louisville. Ownby's been shown a card a moment ago. And then Josh Winder just beginning to come into his own, having signed an academy contract back in February. For Louisville, that's their full allotment of substitutes as well. This will run through. And look, Devin, make no mistake, if Wes Sharpie is available, does Josh Winder see this moment of this game? Maybe not, but Winder's been up to the task this year. We've talked to coaches both in Louisville and elsewhere, have been pretty impressed.
Again, does Josh Winder see it? Does Oscar Jimenez see it? He's still coming back from injury. Wes Sharpie, a guy who prior to his misfortune at the beginning of the season that saw him end up on the injury report, he had earned the shirt on the back line, was the preferred option. Worked his way back in, picked up an injury of his own end of July, beginning of August, and he's still working his way back. The good news for Louisville City is that the depth is coming back and that their injuries aren't overly extended. And there's some news floating around as to what that could look like for a couple people within the organization, though it looks like it should be okay. And so all of a sudden, you hit that 5-6 game mark, a couple of wins under your belt, nice victory against the Western Conference like this. Get the depth.
Usually we get to the championship final and we go, okay, East versus West, and it's we don't see this often. How do we possibly compare the two sides? Now that we've been able to see that since the scheduling format changed so significantly over the offseason, what have we really learned about East versus West?
Pretty much the same thing that we already knew, to be fair. I mean, you knew that the West could really go up-tempo when necessary, that they're going to score a lot of goals, especially when they play each other. It's been different when they've come to the East, right? You think about an RGV Miami game where RGV could do no wrong for 20 minutes. Or excuse me, Miami could do no wrong for 20 minutes, and that then spins itself around. We've seen the Charleston Battery in Orange County where that was one of the slower games I've ever called in the championship. We called it together.
We did. Ownby looked like he was through. Azira certainly into the book.
For me, it comes down to where the game is taking place.
So you're saying anyone going to Wild Horse Pass, Southwest University Park, good luck.
You're in trouble.
If you're going to Al Lang Lynn Family Stadiums, you know, same boat.
We had Martin Rennie in the building last night. He was calling a game next door to us, and we looked at each other kind of talking about how playoffs could play out. And there are, 5, 6 in the entire championship that if you go there, you're going to lose. Statistically. You go to Louisville, you go to Phoenix, El Paso, Al Lang, those ones immediately jump out. There are other teams that are going to make it into the playoff race that you can't really make that statement about.
McKay puts this in play. To your point, at Lynn Family Stadium since it opened last summer, Louisville 19-6-3 with today's win in tow, assuming they hold on to the margin. Over 2 points a game. Their knockout home record is equally stunning. Their loss to Tampa Bay.
The only one, right?
The only one.
Yep. This isn't the end of the line for New Mexico United, though.
Well,
this was well done here in the second half.
And think about the standings coming in today. Austin on 36, RGV on 37, New Mexico on 37. Those are 4, 5, 6 in the Mountain Division, but 4 points away from second.
San Antonio playing OKC today. If Energy FC gain 3 points, you're still within 3 points of third. And you've got a game in hand on RGV, who's behind you. So you've got a performance across the country on the road that wasn't great in the first half. You still grab a goal before halftime. You come out blazing for 25 minutes, even approaching 30. And then all of a sudden, that third goal is let into the back of the net. This is still very well done by New Mexico United. And as we've said a couple of times, Mike, when you talk about talent, when you talk tactics, coaching, implementation of all of that into one game or a sequence put back to back to back on the road or home, all signs point to New Mexico United and their ability to get into one of those playoff spots in the Mountain Division.
And last time you and I were on ESPN talking about the USL Championship playoffs, your direct messages, your phone were blowing up. Who you did put in the field and who you didn't.
And guess what?
You had New Mexico in it, I know that. I've been on a lot of coach calls with you over the past month or so, and most everyone leads by, so Devin, I saw that halftime piece.
Oh, so that was you peeking in the window of my house last night, breathing deeply. But to be fair, and toot my own horn a little bit here, everything right now except for Sac jumping Los Dos is the same. Now, I've changed my tune a little bit in that area. Even the Sacramento Republic got a win. They're all where we thought they would be. They were in that playoff piece that we put together. I would also like to mention that the seeding is currently correct, but
they are who you thought they were.
I mean, think about this right now. New Mexico United would go to Phoenix in the first round. I'm here for that. Louisville City would host Charlotte Independence.
Louisville will clinch with a point today. It would take something really spectacular in the next 2.5 minutes to avoid that fate. For New Mexico, 2.5 minutes to try and salvage a point here on the road. While Nostradamus Devin continues his run. I've heard you tell enough coaches something to the effect of, look, I'd love to be proven wrong.
Absolutely. Go get it right. I'll get it wrong. Do it.
Yearwood. Incisive for Illich. Back to Suggs. Rolls that through. Picked off by McCabe. Is there one last exclamation point? It was McLaughlin that scored the goal that put this out of reach in the 75th minute. Or so it felt at the time, and is largely borne out. New Mexico will host Hartford in 3 days' time. You'll see that game on ESPN+. For Louisville, they're going to host Sporting Kansas City 2 next Saturday. Got 2 home games left on the docket, including one against Memphis. McLaughlin.
Easy, Jimmy.
You got to give that back.
Oh, yeah, that's not a souvenir. Some really good ones have been given out, by the way, but that's not one of them.
Yep, the flags are part of the deal. Dev, these Louisville fans, final minute stoppage time, get something to celebrate today for New Mexico. They'll go regroup, get back home, and try and make the Lab the fortress it's always been, keeping the playoff hunt.
If you're a Louisville fan, get ready. This is the time of year that you wait for, right? I mean, you see the growing pains that are your season. Every single year it's something. We've talked about that a couple of times, but all of a sudden, staple victory at home. You've got some teams coming to Lynn family, battling for their playoff lives. Can they go be great and secure themselves the #1 seed? That's been the conversation all season long. And for New Mexico United, they've got work to do as well. This was a great effort put forth in the second half. If you would have asked me 35 minutes into this game if I thought they had any chance, this could have been 4 or 5-0. I would have said absolutely not. I tip my hat to Troy Lesesne, to Josh Suggs, Sandoval, anyone who wore a United jersey tonight, because it would have been easy to put your head down, go all the way back to the lab, and call it a night, and that's not what happened here. Head up, continue to push forward, because now you got an Eastern Conference foe in Hartford Athletic coming. You've got RGV, San Diego Loyal. There is still a really good chance for this team to go to the playoffs and make some noise.
And that is that. New Mexico's 3-game win streak is over for Louisville. A home win that clinches a spot in the 2021 USL Championship playoffs. And now their focus turns toward trying to be seated as high as possible, get as many home games as they can. The captain, 2 goals. Paulo Del Piccolo sets the tone in the first home game for Louisville in a month. And Louisville leaps Birmingham. Now 2 points clear, top of the Central. Those 2 sides will face in the regular season's final game on October 30th, a match you'll see on ESPN+. Louisville wins this one 3-1 for Devin and our entire team. Mike Watt saying thanks for watching. We'll see you November the 28th.
Many of teams around the league right now, Mike, are going, man, I'd love to be in their spot. I'd love to have all that white noise about us and not have to worry about making the playoffs.
Gomez chips this forward. Holpino drives inside, serves the cross, slid.